Good morning, everybody. It's up to me to break the ice. I'm Irene Borgna from Aree Protette Alpi Marittime, Italy, and LIFE WolfAlps EU project. The goal of my 10 minute speech is to briefly introduce some highlights of the LIFE WolfAlps EU project. Two in the domain of ecotourism and one in the domain of involvement of young people in nature conservation. I won't speak about achieved successful actions, too easy. I will talk about actions which are in progress. So I will speak more about practices than about results. I think this is more interesting for a workshop. Let's see. Well, of course, the LIFE WolfAlps EU project takes up the legacy of the LIFE WolfAlps project ended in 2018. So the idea at the beginning was, of course, to take the things already done, make it better, and not, of course, repeat the mistakes. Did it work? Yeah, with a few surprises. So let's start with ecotourism and the first highlights. In the first project, there was an action which was really successful. That is to say, trackings to spot wolf traces and signs, of course, in wolf presence area, to learn facts about wolf biology and ecology. When I speak about trackings, I mean hikes with at least one overnight stay in mountain huts, mainly. So it was great because all the trackings we proposed were repeated in the afterlife period by nature guides. There was a high engagement of people that kept in touch with the project, and they are still following the second project. And the most interesting thing was that people had the feeling of traveling across a land of wolves without even seeing the animals and disturbing animals. So we had no negative aspects and many pluses. So we thought, great, let's try to do it again and to do it even better, to go deeper in this topic, in this trackings. So we proposed travels which are called paths of coexistence. Sorry for the rough translation in English on the right, but it's just to make people, not Italian people, understand the message of the travels. These travels add something to the previous version of the trackings. It is to say that we organized some meetings during the trekking, that is to say in alpine pastures, during the walk with shepherds, farmers, researchers, park rangers, just to make people to build a complete picture of human-wolf coexistence. So on the paper, it used to say, in theory, it worked, it was great, it was a super proposal. We have 7 travels in the protected areas within the project area, so in the Alps, in the Italian Alps, and the travels were targeted for an Italian public, of course, with the help of tour operator. But the decision was good, the timing was definitely bad, because we were late in 2021, which was the golden year of mountain tourism in Italy after the lockdown. And so we did not had great, we had not great results in terms of participation, in terms of travelers. So we decided to repeat in 2022, so last summer, but it was even worse because last year was the black year for mountain tourism, because all people which went to the mountains in 2021 wanted to travel abroad. So we had a bad results in terms of participation, because once the timing was bad, twice ice. Timing has been really awful, but we tried to learn from our mistakes, and this year we had a new version of the 7 travels that have been marketed, we hope, on time, ready for summer 2023. So this will be the real test for our travels, paths of coexistence, which are the first, I think, wolf-friendly catalog marketed in the Alps. So let's see what's going to happen. Of course, if one of you wants to subscribe, it's very, very welcome on the website of Viaggi e Miraggi Tour Operator. Second highlight, it's about wolf-friendly products. In the first project, WolfAlps project, we had sort of label that was inspired by the long-lasting experience of the bear-friendly products in Slovenia, which will be introduced and described by Irena in a while. As it is a successful experience, we decided to inspire and to learn from our colleagues in Slovenia and to propose the first time a small pilot experience that was called Terre di Lupi, that is to say land of wolves. But there were some negative aspects. First of all, the packaging was so nice, but so expensive and impossible to be self-produced by the producers. It was only wolf-centered, and now this is a pity. It was too local, and it targeted only farmers, and it was not attractive for instance, tourism professionals. So it was a nice idea, a nice message of being proud of produce quality products in an area where the wolf presence makes everything more difficult. But it was not effective. In fact, after the end of the first project, this experimentation ended. So we decided now to do something different. Moreover, many things, in fact, have changed since way back 2018. The expansion of wolf population and of large carnivore population in general in new areas, and also the effect of climate crisis made us think that an extended concept, an extended idea of coexistence is needed. And so we decided to shift from a brand, from the Terre di Lupi brand, to a token label plus a showcase website. Let's see what's all this stuff. A token label, it's just, well, a simple label with a QR code and a few outline elements, that is to say, the name of the producer, for instance, which immediately puts you in contact through the link, through the QR code, to the story of the producer, of the nature guide, if it's a service, on a leaflet, for instance, on the story of the host, if you are in a hotel. And it has many advantages reported to proper brand. First, the token label does not require registration, so you can spare some money. You have the full possibility to define the criteria without having to refer, for instance, to the local national laws about products. It does not conflict with the millions of labels already existing. And then the bead or the sticker can be self-printed by the producers and has very about zero costs. And what is more, the token labels allows the story of a product's manufacturer, nature guides, to be told in an immediate way through video, images, interviews, through the landing page of the showcase website. Of course, a token labels doesn't work if there's no showcase website. We decided to call this showcase website, which at the moment is under construction, Coexistence. In Italians, it has double meaning, that is to say, ecological living, a living according to nature, but also coexistence, online coexistence. So a showcase for all people, all professionals, which decide to support coexistence with their activity. The general message, always roughly translated, sorry for the horrible English, but just to make you understand the meaning. The general message is that the return of large carnivores has, of course, an important ecological value, but both residents and visitors, have to learn to share spaces with animals that are coming back after a long absence. So everyone can do their part. The farmers, of course, by protecting their animals, but also nature guides and manager of accommodation facilities by the first by proposing a responsible type of nature tourism according our super guidelines, and the manager of accommodation facilities by giving correct information about how to behave in areas where large carnivores are present. So we were looking for a different logo that is a simple logo, it's no more a brand, which could represent this extended idea of coexistence, and we found it finally within the project. In a while, I will describe you the Young Ranger program, and it has the same logo. The partners suddenly decided that, okay, we already have one logo that is corresponding to our idea of coexistence, with all traces of humans, animals, and also some plants, which represent our species embedded in an ecosystem. So we decided to adopt this logo in green as simply the logo of this communication initiative of the token label plus showcase website. The showcase website will be ready, I think, by the end of May, beginning of June. And we already have the first people interested in participating. It will be very easy. We borrowed the access criteria from Life Bear project, just to be coherent, or at least in Europe, at least among European projects. And you can just download the paper, the form, fill it and send it for approbation to a project commission. So we will be to see you soon in June with the showcase websites online. We will have different categories, that is to say agricultural products, handcrafted products, activities by nature guides, mainly services like hospitality and restaurants, with different message, of course, linked to the different category. And now I come to the third highlight of changing topic, that is to say, just passing to involvement of kids in nature conservation with the Young Ranger program. This program is linked to the project, and it is only a temporary program which will end in 2024 when the project will end. So it's inspired, of course, by the animation activity proposed by the United States National Park System, and it's not in conflict with the long-lasting and success experience of Europark, the Junior Rangers, because Junior Rangers target the kids which live in the protected areas. Young Ranger program targets the kids which are visiting the protected areas with their family. So how does it work? Well, it's very simple. You have on the left the kids, they go and visit a park. They come normally to a visitor center or to an info point, and they receive two things. It is to say, an activity booklet about wolf-human coexistence that is common to all the 39 parks and museums which are participating to the program. And they receive also passports, that is to say, a sort of passport of the parks, where they can collect all the stamps of the parks they will visit. They receive the activity booklet and they have the time to go and visit the park and make observation and complete all the activities. Then they will come back and to the info point, and there receive the young ranger badge and a stamp on the passport. And there normally there is also a small pledge, the young ranger pledge, where kids just say, okay, I'm ready to be a ranger and to make all I can to protect nature. Is yes, a sort of pledge at the end of the activity booklet. Then the activity is not ended, because they can, of course, continue and explore the different protected areas, and they, of course, will not receive the activity booklet again. It would be a little bit stupid. They will receive instead an play poster, it is to say, a poster with games which is dedicated to the particular protected area. So each park decided, okay, for me, it's important to make games about birds or about ungulates or about frogs. Each park decided a theme and then produced a poster. So the kids can complete the poster, turn it back to the info point and receive another stamp, and go on collecting one stamp via l'altro. Some facts I think are not so trivial about the activity booklet. It's not a book of education activity on the wolf, so wolf-centered, but rather on coexistence, starting from the wolf, a flagship species. We try to go beyond wolf and talk about biodiversity. It put together many points of view, so the biologist's point of view, but also the breeders, the hunters, the wolves, the guardian dogs' point of view, the park rangers' point of view, even the anthropologist's point of view. There are no easy solutions inside, but the restitution of a problem that is complex. There are no easy solution. And it's also suitable for a wide age range, thanks to different activities with different level of difficulty. And it allows outdoor and also sitting activities. At the end, as I said, there's the Young Ranger Pledge. If you want to, there are 39 participants, mainly in Italy, but also in France and in Slovenia, mainly protected areas, but also some museums, one wildlife area, one museum, Science Museum of Trento, and one eco museum in Pivka, Slovenia. And at least at the moment, but very at least, 6,000 kids have been already involved, and many more will be involved before the end of the project. If you want to discover more about Young Ranger program, and if you want to discover solutions because the activity booklet is too hard for you, of course, there is a dedicated page on the LIFE WolfAlps EU project website. So just go and discover. And that is all I have to do. I hope I have respected timing. And I really thank you for your attention. So cool, this drawing.
As Irina already explained a little bit, I will present more about the carnivore-friendly scheme that was developed in Slovenia. And my name is Irina. I'm a researcher at University of Ljubljana. I'm working at biotechnical faculty at the biology department. And so let me just see. Sorry, I usually, is it? No, it's not. Where do I, here, okay, sorry. Now you see my second slide, yeah?
Yes, can you,
Yeah.
Irena, can you please try and set the presentation mode? Not just slideshow. Like view, try the view option.
Okay. Sorry.
If you go, check.
If you go down
Yeah.
at the right next to the zoom. No, at the bottom, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Open up.
that one.
Yeah. Exactly. Slideshow.
That one. Yeah.
Okay. Now it works.
No.
One sec. Now click on slideshow.
Sorry, I'm event technician. Maybe do you have 2 screens?
Yeah.
Or only one? 2 screens. Okay, this is the problem.
Okay.
Okay, stop share, please.
Sorry, I didn't know. I thought maybe you will share.
We restarted the share screen now, but it's better to stop the share.
Otherwise, if it is a problem, I can share my screen with, but I think it's a problem.
Click ask on your PC. Okay, just a moment.
Can you maybe share the presentation? I think it would be.
Just a moment.
But
just
one moment, otherwise we do it. Don't worry.
Okay, stop. Now I've stopped your share. We can restart. Click to share on share screen, and then share the second screen. On the second screen, I think you have the full screen slide.
Perfect. Looks good. Thank you, Irena.
Looks good now? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is, yeah. Sorry about this.
No problem at all.
Don't worry.
Yeah. Okay. So the story about the carnivore-friendly scheme started back in 2015 with this live dinner bear project. And this was a huge project covering Austria, Italy, Croatia, and Slovenia. And it was mainly dealing with population level management and conservation. We did a lot of concrete activities to decrease human-bear conflicts. Also, activities like preventing bears from reaching anthropogenic foods, or electric fence, donation of electric fences and livestock guarding dogs for protection of beehives and livestock. But also this project recognized the value of bears as an ecotourist attraction. And one of the first steps was to develop guidelines for responsible, non-consumptive use of bears in tourism. And these guidelines were meant to be like, they laid out basically some basic recommendations about appropriate behavior, about what responsible tourism programs mean, what are, how to prevent habituation, food conditioning, and so on. And along with this, also on the market, around the same time, also this wildlife-friendly labels were becoming increasingly important, and therefore also the bear-friendly label was developed. The idea of this bear-friendly label was to somehow award those practices, those so-called bear-friendly practices, These are practices that promote coexistence or practices that mitigate conflicts with bears. For example, effective protection of livestock, beehives, orchards, or use of bear-proof garbage bins. Also promotion of responsible tourism programs, and also active promotion of large carnivore conservation in the local area. So for example, that you share some objective or some positive or some basically just some objective information about the species and the coexistence measures. So the goals, the label had several goals. It basically, first of all, it highlighted this connection, this long-term connection that was already existed in this area between bears, this connection between bears and local communities. Then it served as a connection for people that used this coexistence or conflict mitigation measures, so that they were more connected to each other. It gave, the idea was that the label gave some additional value and some sense of recognition to these products and services, and also that it spreads positive messages about large carnivores and about the possibility of coexistence. It was, the label was developed for 3 categories, so similar as you heard now for Italy when Irene was presenting. So the first category was agriculture, and here honey, milk, meat products, different food products could be are equipped with the label. Then within the tourism category, accommodations, restaurants, also responsible tourism products programs are included. And in the category that we call active promotion, but it could be also souvenirs, different souvenirs, handicrafts from local local people are equipped with the label that also have enclosed some kind of leaflet or information or other via leaflet, or could be also directly in their packaging. But the idea is that these products also have some additional information. So it's not just a product with the motive of bear. It's also some additional information about the importance of the species or or other stuff. So they were the products were equipped with the label, but the person who received, who was a producer or a provider of the service, received a certificate, and they were called bear-friendly ambassadors, because they were the ones that then also communicate all these coexistence measures, all these bear-friendly practices to their peers, to their customers, and therefore they are our ambassadors. So within the project, we had this possibility of having a lot of field work, a lot of personal communication, and it was for the project that this bear-friendly community was formed. Now it's around 60 participants, 60 members. Some of them are more active, some of them less active, but after the project, of course, also the communication was not that frequent, but we still, but it still continues, and we still work with many of them. I will maybe shortly explain at the end how these activities are done after the project. So at the end, we agreed with all the members, with all the bear-friendly ambassadors, that the bear will represent all 3 large carnivores that live in Slovenia, and these are also Eurasian lynx and the wolf. So it was agreed that the bear represent, the discussion that we had was, do we need additional labels or do we stick with the bear? So we agreed that the bear is our representative, and we now include this label in all other large carnivore projects. So wolf and lynx products are added, and also new cooperation with large carnivore visitor center Dinapuca was formed after the project, and this is very nice, very good, because we have now a physical store and also a place where where ambassadors can meet in person. And this brings me now to the wolf. In this current project, LIFE WolfAlps EU, we also wanted to promote best practice examples or good responsible wolf tourism. And of course, the process was similar as in live dinner bear. First, you need the guidelines so that you know what's okay and what's not okay in terms of negative impacts that tourism can have on the species. And so as this was the period of COVID, and we had to be a little bit creative. The idea was to meet all these wolf experts, but then we produced an online questionnaire, and this online questionnaire was sent to the project group and also to LCIA members, so Large Carnivore Initiative of Europe members. And then with the series of emails and consultations, these guidelines were developed and also endorsed by LCIA. And now maybe I will just shortly explain the structure of the document. So the idea was first to explain the threats, so that the rationale behind some of the limitations and some of the activities that are not recommended or forbidden within the guidelines is more easily understandable. So besides the threats, these general recommendations are general guidelines are explained with the legal framework. Very highlighted is the importance of well-trained guides, because of course it's very important that guides are able to explain, to give some accurate information about wolves, about their biology, ecology, also about the impact the wolves have on forest or and other animals, and of course on humans. And then in this general section, there are also measures how to prevent habituation, how to prevent food conditioning, threats from dogs, and also the important part is the interpretation. So this should be the major component of the tourism program, we believe, and this is also explained in the guidelines. Sorry. Then we have specific guidelines for certain tourism products, like wolf tracking, for example. Here, we first explained that the tracking, when, of course, wolf tracking is a very good and very good activity to include, and very exciting activity to include in the tourism program, but it can also disturb the animals, because when you follow a fresh track, you can disturb wolves on their prey, or you can find a den and disturb them on the resting site and similar. So the idea is that the recommendation is that wolf tracks are followed backwards, and especially between 15th of April and 15th of September, when this is a pup rearing season, that this activity is limited to established paths, established roads, forest roads, so that we really limit this possibility of disturbing wolves in their den. And then there are some other recommendations about fresh kill, of course, should not be approached for obvious reasons, and so on. And then we have a special set of guidelines for wolf watching. This is only possible in open areas. In Slovenia, wolf watching is not very, I mean, you have to be really lucky. We had a tourist last year, an artist that was really lucky that he was painting in nature, and he saw a wolf. But this is not something that you can promise to a tourist. And of course, but in the open areas, in some areas of Europe, this is possible. But in that case, these long distance observations are recommended. So with binoculars and telescopes. And no such activity should be carried out near dens and rendezvous sites because of this impact on the species, and because this is the time where they have pups. Regarding the howling, which was also a very popular, also I think in North America, a popular tourism activity, but within the guidelines, we decided that this is not recommended and should be avoided because it can be disturbing for the packs. And alternative is to passively listen for spontaneous howls, or to have recordings from researchers that then tourists can listen, I don't know, in a hut in the evening or something similar. So there are some limitations, but there's also a lot of things that can be included. I think Irene already presented their best practice, these best practice programs that were developed in Italy and within the project. We conclude the guidelines with some kind of ingredients for what we believe would be a best practice program, and these activities, these programs should include some informational briefing about wolves, like I said, so that people understand also the effect that the species has on the local communities or on the people living in the area of wolves. Then should of course include some kind of identification and interpretation of animal tracks, along with the walk in a habitat where a qualified guide can explain different animal tracks, compare them maybe to dog tracks, explain the differences between the tracks. Then you can include some sensory experiences, like listening to spontaneous howls, or listening to the recordings of the howls. Viewing material. Now researchers have a lot of camera traps on the field, and this is also very interesting if videos and photos are shown, or even in some cases, camera traps can be set on the field, and tourists can come and check what was happening during the night on that concrete location. And an important part of the program should also be, at least in this part of Europe, where this is really an important thing, is the coexistence. So the visit of pastures where damage prevention methods are used, if possible. If you have a farmer that is ready to speak about their direct experience, how their life, how their day-to-day routine is affected by the presence of large carnivores. This can also be an interesting part of the program, and I think, and also the promotion of this local accommodation and other services, so that this benefit that local communities and local people living in this area is maximized. And in that way, if initiatives are built in this way, then we believe that this brings benefits both to local communities and to wolves. And I think in the next presentation, you will also hear more about, you will also get more ideas what to include. This is all from my side, and happy to hear some questions.
Thank you very much, Irena. Are there questions on this specific presentation and on Irene Borgna's presentation, or we can keep them for the question time for a little later. Oh, nice. Thank you very much for the beautiful drawings, Agnese. As you probably saw on the flyer, we are having an illustrator who is sharing and presenting her sketches while the speakers talk about the issues. It's very nice. We will keep those
Thanks.
illustrations.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so if there are not no questions for the moment, we could move to Francisco Alvarez's presentation. Francisco, when you are given the possibility to share your screen, you'll be able to present your PowerPoint. Thank you. We're very happy to have Francisco. Hi. Hi, Francisco.
Hi, all. Hi, Marta. Do you see it?
Yes, we see the presentation.
Okay.
Yeah.
PowerPoint mode, or yeah.
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay.
I just wanted to say a quick word before you start. We're very happy to have Francisco with us today because of his a long experience in Portugal and also across Europe regarding cultural dimensional walls. He also participated to the preparation of the guidelines that Irena just presented. So he will go more into detail in some of the topics that were touched by the guidelines.
By the guidelines.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Marta, for explaining, and thanks for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. Very nice and interesting talks so far, and we are just starting. So I'll talk you a bit about, because when we think about walls and touristic activities and educational, we tend to focus on wild walls and scenic walls, and actually that is the expectation for most of people. But then you have the cultural dimension of walls, which can also be a huge resource. And what you mean with that? The cultural dimension is basically the perceptions and beliefs that people have towards walls, and that normally they have a negative perception. It's what it's most disseminated due to damages to domestic animals or large game, and mostly by symbolic reasons where the wolf is allegory for evil, promoted mostly by the Christian symbolism during Middle Age, and where now lead us to wolves being having associated a very negative perception. But there's also this dualism, and with I'm not able to move, sorry. It's not moving, right? Not sure. Oh, sorry. It seems it crashed somehow.
Possiamo avere un aiuto dal technical support? Okay, now
It's going now.
Sorry, yeah, sorry, maybe it crashed a bit. There's also a positive perception, and that positive perception actually has endured much more millennia than this negative perception that came mostly from Middle Ages. And that positive perception is linked to a wolf as a spiritual and utilitarian creature, and considered for many early civilizations, also most of them from North to South Europe, as a divinity or a totem species. And actually it's what brings now that most of urban people that don't not contact so much with wolves are much more connected with this spiritual and utilitarian rule of wolves. And despite this dualism being sometimes very difficult to address in wolf conservation, actually has some potential, especially if you consider all of this as this cultural dimension of wolves. First, it shows that there are multiple symbolic meanings throughout history. So wolves were not always the bad creature, and actually they were adored and worshipped by their strength, by their social system, by their hunting schemes. So that is important to bear in mind. And also all these gave rise to several and diverse ethnographic manifestations that some of them are still in use in more mountainous and more rural areas. And it's a big recognition of wolves as very important in the cultural identity of rural communities, and also allow us to understand the cognitive and ideological context of conflicts and where they come from, and which can be diverse on origins in several regions of Europe. Also, altogether, it creates an important resource for awareness related to wolves, because it allows us to integrate this traditional knowledge from local people in scientific data, and that allows a much better receptivity from rural inhabitants when you talk about wolf conservation. Being young people or old people, they are all much more receptive when you talked about this importance of wolves in their own cultural identity. And also altogether, this has a tremendous touristic and educational resource that encompasses many disciplines, because you can address history, archaeology, ethnography, biology, and very easily you can integrate several topics and approaches. And all of this is very important, especially in Europe, but particularly in Iberian Peninsula, where there's a long coexistence with wolves in a human-dominated landscape for centuries, where wolves always persisted. And the landscape, it's dominated, where wolf range is dominated by small villages scattered around the landscape, still with a very deep rural activity, mostly for extensive grazing, and where local people still have a very deep connection with wolves and interaction, both in their practice and even in their beliefs. So I'll do now a small review on these cultural dimensions, or the several aspects. Of course, most of them are practices related to wolf persecution, and where there's mainly some kind of traps and some kind of, most of them not used anymore. But the most impressive ones in Iberian Peninsula, it's we call it forges, some ancient wolf traps made of stone, where you can find it, some of them, especially these green, that it's the simple pit on the ground with wall, where the wolf would be attracted with the bait, for instance. And that one also exists in several areas of Europe. But then in Iberia, you have these different and more elaborated technologies, like the goat corral, a corral where they would put a goat as a bait to attract the wolf, or these convergent wolves trap in red. You can see there are many across northern Iberia, where the wolf would be falling in this pit with hunting drive. And in these structures, all these, they are monumental. Some of these convergent wall traps can have more than 2 kilometers long wall. And the walls are built in a way that prevents wolves to get out in the inner face, because they have these hanging stones that prevents wolves to escape. Besides, we have several constructions also in Iberia with different typologies for livestock confinement and protection to prevent wolf damages, and which are many of them are still in use. There's also the local breeds of livestock guarding dogs. As you know, in Europe, we have several, and they have been raised also because of our relationship with the wolf. And for instance, only in Portugal, we have here 4 local breeds, but many, as I said, occur across Europe. And many of these dogs traditionally or still, they use these spike collars, also can be very diverse, made on leather or iron, which can be really handcraft art pieces, some of them. There's also the oral tradition, all the beliefs and traditional knowledge that people talk about wolves in popular tales. Many of them still alive, where especially elders can talk about them. Some are much more not so real. Others are based on some wolf kills or some nice episodes dealing with wolves some decades ago, or also the practice that people some decades ago had to collect the wolf pups and raise them until a certain age, until then they get unbearable to be in captivity and they would be killed. But where there's these also interesting connections with kids and with these wolf pups. And also in Iberia, we still have some more unrealistic beliefs like the werewolf and the fairy of the tales. The wolf fairy, sorry, the wolf fairy and the werewolf, which are figures that are still in the folklore, and many oral traditional tales refer to them. Especially in northern Portugal and northwest Spain, we also have an amazing practice of traditional medicine and veterinary, where people use traditionally wolf products to cure illness, both in humans and in livestock. And as you can see here, just in a small review, many wolf products, since teeth and even organs and pelt, were used to heal several diseases on animals. Most of those diseases were related to the wolf product. For instance, the lung of wolves were used to cure asthma and breathing disorders in humans. This is a practice that probably has roots from millennia, maybe, of this relationship between humans and wolves, and where wolves were much more considered as a utilitarian species, more than now, probably. And we still have, related to this traditional medicine, the use of wolf throat in Portugal. The wolf throat is a part of the wolf trachea, mummified, that it's used to cure a disease on domestic pigs that come from the vegetation that it's collected to put in the pig corral. And this vegetation comes from the mountain, and sometimes people believe they can be infected by the wolf urine or wolf scats, and that gives a wolf-related disease to pigs. And the only way to cure them is to pass water, like this lady is doing, passing water through the wolf trail with a small prayer, and then they believe that giving the water to the pigs, they get cured. Also in literature, wolves are very well represented, probably across Europe, but in Portugal there's a review of all literary works from more than 4,000 excerpts from literary works between the 19th century and currently. And wolf by far is the species, the wildlife species most represented in tales and in novels, and which, if you spot it in the Portuguese map, you can see that these coincides where has been historically or until recent times the strongholds for wolves, besides Lisbon, of course, this region here. Also, there's a lot of artistic representations across Europe and also Iberia, from Paleolithic gravings depicting animals assumed as wolves, more recent pieces of art where wolf was represented, mostly as a divinity, and also these modern art sculptures, some of them more realistic, some more artistic. This one here, it's a statue of a very important writer in Portugal from early 20th century, where he depicted in his novels the wolves very often, and a statue was made with 3 realistic wolves surrounding him. And also this example of a really nice sculpture made of garbage, made by a Portuguese artist, Bordalo II, which is also now in Beira, in a city where within Wolf Range. And besides all this cultural dimension, Iberian Wolf Range, and I would say that most of the Wolf Range in Europe contains a landscape and environmental quality, traditional rural activities still in place and conducted, a gastronomy with high quality, suitable conditions to watch wolves, since we don't have much a forested country, but above most, a rich cultural heritage related to wolves that has been rising to several companies now doing ecotourism, mostly in Spain or starting in Spain, but now also with several examples in Portugal. I will also briefly explain now, just to end, some good practices that has been conducted also in Portugal, like the recovery of these ancient wolf traps. Many of them were completely destroyed, even not so much visible. And so with some construction works, they are put in place and then well interpreted, that people can see how they would work, because they were complex in the way they were used by all community. Most of these traps, the last wolf captures were like in early mid 20th century. And now they are turned more as a touristic spot with signs included in trails, in pedestrian trails, and a huge opportunity to take local kids to have activities with them from schools, and to make these beautiful drawings, and very realistic drawings, actually, how this this goat wolf trap work, with the goat as a bait and the wolf already inside. Other good practice is a village, Fafião, a mountain village promoting wolves. It's located in Peneda Gerês National Park. It has really few hundred meters from the village a beautiful wolf trap, this convergent wolf trap, which also shows very well that wolves have always existed near villages, and people had the need to kill them really near villages. So wolves in peri-urban environments was not such a new thing like considered today. And in this village, they have, for instance, did a real size sculpture right in the entrance. They are promoting responsible husbandry practices, like a communal herd of goats with livestock guarding dogs, or cattle shelters in the mountains for vigilance of cattle during summer grazing. Also, local restaurants are adopting the wolf logo, or even products from local farmers. And also they organize each year a rural festival using the wolf as label, rural festival with handcraft, with music, and with many other activities, mostly promoting this rural way of life. Finally, there's also still under construction a platform, an online platform for dissemination of about wolves, with accurate information and many other topics. And it will include interactive maps with wolf-related sites for touristic interest. in Portugal, where you can easily click and you can get the directions and the locations and the characteristics of each of these ancient stone traps, highlighting only the ones adequate for a visit, for instance, not included in protected areas or in core areas or protected areas, or near, for instance, wolf breeding sites. Those ones were excluded and just highlighted the ones that are accessible to people, but where people can find the different typologies of these wolf traps. And also other sites of interest, like captive wolves, interpretation centers, and art, being rock art, ancient or rock art, or modern and urban art, and where very easily also you can find the directions and the characteristic of all these sites. And that's all. I hope it can be interesting, but I think also it crashed again, but I'm finished. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was very interesting. Thank you for
Interesting.
the drawing. Yes, the constructions were interesting, very different from we were discussing with Irene and Laura, very different from our situation in Italy, even in the old times.
But I'm sure other things, but you have livestock guarding dogs, and even these small wolf pits, probably some exist in Italy, but not sure if some ethnographic research has been done.
I'm not sure about these walls, but yes, I think, but
not the others. The others seem to be more Iberian. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions specifically on this presentation that you would like to make to Francisco?
I have a question. Yeah, I was wondering, hi Francisco, I was wondering if you have also some kind of label already in place for the wolf, or this is just some individual producers that are interested, and then they use the wolf as their logo.
Yeah, no, we still don't have logo. We have been discussing that. I really like the first and your presentation with the bear logo, because it's not an easy thing to implement. Eventually, in the scope of this future platform, online platform, lobiveri.pt, that we hope to release now in early spring, we'll try to see if there's a way of at least highlighting some of the good practices in tourism, in agriculture, like you were saying for the bear-friendly products, and try to put that in place. But in Portugal, until now, as a national labeling, there's nothing. There's these small initiatives that very easily could be already integrated.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So I think now we have Clara Tattoni from the collaborator of the Arc from Life project.
Good morning, everybody. I'm very excited
Thank you, Clara.
To be here.
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, great. Okay. I'm trying to share my screen.
This is the work in progress. Okay. On the drawing. All right. We see your presentation.
Okay. So
perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Marta and WolfAlps EU, for inviting me to this very interesting workshop. I'm very excited to be here this morning, and I'm going to talk about bears for this presentation. And what is the topic will be what is behind the scene of eco-labeling? Why would people like to have a large carnivore on their products? So I will present you how we measure the impact of the Apennine brown bear in the Italian media. As you all know, the Apennine brown bear is a subspecies of bear living only in central Italy. So this is quite special bear. The background of this research that I did as a consultant for WWF Italy within the framework of like our PROMPT project, which main goal was to improve large carnivore coexistence in Greece and Italy, especially in Maiella National Park. And this research was carried out as a preliminary study for the creation of a bear-friendly label. So, as a background, we know that the residents' acceptance increases when the benefits are clearly communicated to the people. So when they know why large carnivores are useful for the environment and for them. And research carried out in the Apennine, but also in Japan and around the world, show that it's important to communicate in a target way with different people, farmers, tourists, and agriculture, beekeepers. And this communication can be very effective in increasing acceptance, especially if the benefits are clearly communicated. But what are the benefits of having large carnivores in an area? For the wolves, sometimes it's easier to communicate the benefits rather than for the bears, because we all know the example of the Yellowstone wolves that changed the rivers. Their role as a top predator is quite clear, but for the bear, it's not so easy, because their contribution to the ecosystem is the seed dispersal, nutrient cycle, that are not so striking and so easy to communicate to the public. So most studies try to focus on tourism, but tourism in central Italy is not so developed yet. We have some companies that promote bear tours, but they are not enough to make a research. So the aim of this work would try to assess the importance of bear in the national media, especially press and television, and to try to quantify the importance of the bear as a promoter for the area where it lives, that is unique in the world, central Italy, Abruzzo, Lazio, and Molise. So how to quantify the bear as a destination image? That is, why would you want a bear in the label of your product? So we analyzed the content and placement of the Apennine brown bear in the media, and we also perform a so-called sentiment analysis, that is to evaluate what is the mood in which the media speak about the bear. To do so, I have to make a step behind, and because we wanted to quantify the role of the bear as an indirect advertising for a place. So before doing that, we have to be clear what is a direct advertising. A direct advertising is something that is clear that there is a seller that wants to sell us something, that it has a price, and this seller used money to develop an advertising like this. And so there is, in this case, they are inviting us to visit a location, Lake Como, where you can buy a cruise, in this case, that is not just the placement from point A to point B, but they sell us also a romantic experience with champagne, classy villas, and so on. And we know it is advertising to bring us to that place. And so we kind of know what to do with this kind of advertising. On the other hand, we have indirect advertising. If George Clooney says us that he found happiness on Lake Como and he's crazy for Lake Como and this is his villa. Wow, that's really cool to go to Lake Como. We really want to go. We don't perceive it as something that somebody's trying to sell us something. And the Como municipality didn't pay €1 for that. It's free advertising for this place. And I collaborate with economists that can evaluate the price of this indirect advertising. And as the bear is a very popular species, he's a flaxi species, as George Clooney, the bear, made the first page of a lot of magazines. And so it can be an attraction for a place because it has a lot of visibility. And that is why what we are trying to measure. So we restricted our research to the national media that are seen by everybody in Italy, or can be bought in any news agent in Italy. To do that, we relied on a research that listed the main newspapers according to the number of printed copies and their diffusion on the Italian territories. So this is the newspaper that we took into account, and we selected the television channels that can be seen for free in the whole country. So we excluded pay TV and other regional services because we wanted to see the impact on the whole country. Then for the newspaper, we query their database online for the single newspaper with keywords related to the Apennine brown bear. And we did the same for the television channels. But we also went to the RAI database physically to select and query their database. Then we screen for the relevant content because not all the Apennine brown bears were reported correctly in the media. And so we discarded the content that were not relevant for our research. We then create a database with the time, the length of the content, or the duration in case of TV show, and we full read or view all the material. We also queries the advertising agency to know the price for any given source at any given time of the day and of the week, because advertising price, of course, is higher during the World Football Cup rather than at 3 p.m. in the night. And so with all this material, we were able to calculate this indirect advertising value and the sentiment, the mood that all this material conveyed. And what we found for the press is a number of nearly 300 articles in the time considered, 6 tier, that were valued over €1,009,100 for the time considered totally. And we also see that there is a temporal pattern in the press, and we see that the season where they most talk about the bear is spring and summer, and during the winter the press is less interested in bears. Another result we got was about the TV. We had seen in total 122 documentaries and 44 newscasts, for a total of €9 million. The advertising in TV is incredibly huge, and the money is incredibly high compared to the budget of a LIFE project. LIFE project can be 1 minute advertising at the right time. That's something that struck me during this research. And here also you can see the different contribution of the channels to this indirect advertising. And we also see a pattern here, but it's not so clear with the season as it was with the press. And we see a rapidly increase of the attention of the Italian TV towards the happening brown bear in the last years due to several things, especially a record litter size of 4 bear cubs that were very, very present in the media in the last 2 years. This approach has, of course, some limits because this measure whatever content, doesn't matter if it speaks good or bad of the bear. This is the main limitation of this approach, because for advertising, the only things that matter is being talked about and not forgot by the media. So this can backfire somehow when dealing with large carnivores, because we have witnessed boycott campaigns, not for the Apennine brown bear, but for the alpine brown bear. People wanted to boycott the region because there has been some aggression and killing of a problematic bear. On the other hand, people who work in tourism, like this hotel, printed placemats saying, no, we support the bear, so please tourists keep coming. So has contents about bear is very polarized and can be so different. We included a content analysis of the bear. We tried to do that with automatic linguistic tools, but we were not so effective because they are not designed for this kind of environment. And so we labeled negative articles that contain words like kill, fear, death, poison, alarm. And these are the words in Italian that actually occurred in the newspaper about the happening brown bears, in the black color, where in the pink color we have the positive words that may occurred in the Italian press that were like the park, mama bear, travel, secret, treasure, beautiful. And after first screening of these words, we read the whole content of the paper because sometimes it could be misleading. And so in the end, we found out that the press contained more negative contents compared to the television, but most of the content for both sources were considered positive. So the Apennine brown bear has a very positive image in the national media. Some articles or content were labeled as neutral because they simply reported a fact without any endorsement or transportation to the event. So, as a conclusion, we found out that in the 6 years that we considered, the press and the TV were constantly speaking about the happening brown bear. So the bear has a lot of visibility in Italy. We underestimated the indirect advertising because we only considered the national media and we excluded pay TV and regional TV and regional newspapers. So probably this value of 11 million is even less than real. And we proved that the bear is reported in a positive way in the media. So the business who adopt the bear in their logo would definitely benefit of this media visibility. And that's not only a good thing that we discovered for the bear-friendly logo, but it was something that people already knew, because people already use the bear in their products, such as bakeries and perfume. So people were already aware of that. And so after this research, we were ready for building the logo. We will be the topic of the next presentation. And I thank you for your attention. If you want to hear more, I'm open to questions, or you can download our recent paper about this topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Clara. It was very, very interesting, especially the the part on the Como Lake with George Clooney that distracted the audience. But it would be also very interesting to share ideas concerning also the perception, different perception of between wolves and bear. Also because what probably us from the LIFE WolfAlps project, but we are open to discussion on this. Probably the perception is also a little bit changing now, as wolves are seen more often close to the cities, to the villages. So that might be a change in perception. We will see in the future. But this type of research is super interesting, not only for the development of products, but also to address communication on social media and a newspaper and the audience.
Yes, and also I think to connect with the journalists and to see, to share idea with them and provide them with sound content.
Absolutely.
If I just can add one thing, I did some years ago research, parallel research on how the bear is considered in Italy, and Apennine brown bear actually as really, if we look at what you presented, the bad word were not that many, I think, not so much considered an animal to be feared. Or did you, when you show the content, Clara?
Mm-hmm.
I think that the word fear appears a lot less for Apennine brown bear than for example, bear in Trentino.
Yes, of course, it's a very special case, the one of the Apennine brown bear. And your work where you did the comparison is really, really interesting, because the perception, the social environment is completely different.
Yeah, and then I think that this can be taken into account, then we can discuss later also, because when we want to have the advertising, and so this value, we have to also change this perception, because of course you don't have an advertising if it's written that the land is dangerous because of the presence of bear or presence of wolf. So this means that we have to work on that.
Yes, but actually Marco Galaverni, one of my co-authors, did research after the Danica case, the bear that was shot during an effort of capture and radio collar hair. Actually, it was not intended to be shot. That all this attention that was also negative attention towards Trentino, that was felt as a responsible of this unjust killing, actually attracted more people. So it's a very tricky field.
Okay, thank you very much. This is very...
Thank you. So I would then Thank you, Clara. Move to the next presentation from Giovanna Di Domenico from Parco della Maiella, again on the life arc from achievements, a very new aspect that they have started to go through, the eco-label, very friendly eco-label. Thank you.
Thank you very much to you, Marta. I hope you see the presentation and you can hear me as well.
We can hear you. Presentation, perfect. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. So first of all, thank you for the introduction. I'm Giovanna Di Domenico. I work since 2011 in the Maiella National Park, and I'm here today to talk to you about the bear-friendly label that we established just now at the end of 2022 in the frame of the LIFE Arc Prom, and we wanted to share with you we're really happy to have this occasion to share with you the establishment of this label, which is a tool to promote coexistence, but also a tool to preserve the ecosystem and to make the bear be really the ambassador of a wider message. And of course, we will see it will also be in the future a tool for in bear-based ecotourism. So we already attended the presentation of Clara, so she already told us something, but just a very brief reminder that we're talking about the alpine brown bear. So it is a subspecies of the European brown bear, which lives only in central Apennines, and the population is really small, estimated in 50-70 individuals. So it's really a remnant population that needs to be strictly protected in order to, make this unique bear actually have a future. In the Maiella National Park, the situation changed a lot in the last years. At the beginning of 2000, in the first 10 years of 2000s, the bear presence, the bear never disappeared from the Maiella National Park. We always had bear presence, but it was not so strong and so stable. So the presence of the bear was not really tangible by people. It became more and more tangible in the last 10, 12 years because it actually increased. The bear presence increased, the number of bears increased, and also we detected the presence of females with cubs. So what's happening is that the Apennine brown bear population is actually increasing, and with the increasing number, also the range is increasing. And this means that peripheral areas, let's say like Maiella National Park and also other peripheral areas, are now getting more and more interested by the presence of the bear. Of course, having the bear in the territory is good news. Means the environment is healthy and everything, all the things we already know. But it also means that you will have to cope with conflicts, with human-bear interactions, at least. They could be negative, they could be positive, but unfortunately, sometimes they are negative. We have had this Clara and Laura just said that the situation, the context in the Central Apennine is clearly different from the Alpine context. Of course it is. There is a general, at least this is my feeling, there is a general better attitude of people toward birds. But it is also true that also the conservation context is different. So if in the Alps you can really, you don't really need to preserve each individual. In our case, we really need to preserve each individual, which is a unique genetic patrimony for this population. So even though you have just one bear rising conflicts and you have one person that is against this bear and that kills this bear, this is something you cannot accept. So we have low levels of conflicts with bears, but even these low levels really need to be addressed and to be mitigated in order to actually preserve this population. This is very important to bear in mind also for future discussion. So to promote the human-bear coexistence in the Maiella National Park, where you have to imagine people, only very old people can remember where when there were a lot more bears than now. So young people and people having economic activities in the territory, people that work, until 10 years ago didn't really remember what was the meaning of sharing the territory with the bear. And so it was really hard for us to make them understand that the bears were coming back by their own, that we were not reintroducing the bears, and that they were just following a natural situation. So it was, the first very important thing we did is to join the LIFE project, which is a project, European of course, that is specifically aimed at improving human-bear coexistence, so to mitigate conflicts and any negative interaction. It is developed in Greece and Italy. The Maiella National Park is the only national park that is joining this project for Italy. WWF Italy is caring for the communication part, and it is coordinated by a Greek NGO, Callisto, which maybe you already know. In the frame of this project, and I invite you to visit the website lifefrom.Greece, because it's it's one of the most beautiful websites that have ever been developed in the frame of LIFE projects, trust me. And in the frame of this project, the establishment of a bear-friendly label was a very important action. It was a concrete conservation action, not a communication action. What we did is to take a decision. In the first steps of the project, we were affected by the pandemic, of course, because this project started in 2019, but we took the decision to dedicate to the preliminary phase a longer time than foreseen in the project. So we were a little late about this preliminary phase, but this was very important to create the ground to build the bear-friendly label. So the work you already, we already saw, the one made by Clara, was part of this preliminary phase. But the WWF Italy, together with us, not only did the specific work presented by Clara, but also made a very careful analysis of the socio-economic context of the Maiella National Park. So we tried to understand what kind of stakeholders we had in the territory, and which one of these stakeholders could possibly be a better ambassador of the message we wanted to carry, and could possibly be better, actually interested in being an ambassador. And so after more than 2 years, we arrived to the first regulation for the first two categories we individuated as priority, which are beekeepers and farmers. Finally, at the end of 2022, we had our first coexistence ambassadors, that's how we call them, which are 19 producers, beekeepers and farmers. We already have other requests, so I think that in a few months we will be more than 20, 25, 26 maybe, and this is a very good number. We are really proud of this, and we believe that this is the direct result of the huge effort we put in the preliminary phase. In fact, what we wanted to share with you, the key features we identified for our bear-friendly label to be important are two. The first one is the active participation of potential beneficiaries. We promoted this active participation. The reason why the preliminary phase was long is not just because we had to do all the preliminary works we've talked about, but also because we really wanted potential beneficiaries to be part of the regulation drafting process. So we invited them to have meetings with us. We shared ideas. We asked them what they wanted to be, what they wanted to do. And we actually were really surprised to see that thanks to this participatory approach, we could have new regulations, new rules added in the regulation. I mean, the potential beneficiaries really wanted this regulation to be stricter than we had foreseen, and because they wanted to have strict regulation, and they wanted to have the bear be ambassador of this huge work they were going to do in the territory. And the second key point, to our opinion, is the fact that this bear-friendly label is not only aimed at directly, awarding people that mitigate directly the conflict with bears, but it has an ecosystem approach. Meaning what? Meaning that, for example, beekeepers, of course, they are bear-friendly only if they do protect their beehives from bear damages. This is, of course, very important. but they also are a category that through their work favoring pollination, and only beekeepers that breed the autochthonous bee, Apis mellifera ligustica, can actually be bird-friendly producers. So actually they are producers that are not only reducing direct conflict with birds, but they are also helping us have a more functional ecosystem, and so provide the bear a better habitat. This same approach is the only one actually we have foreseen for farmers, because farmers do not have a problem with birds. We do not have birds damaging the farmer production. So why they can be bird friendly? They can be bird friendly because they can decide to have organic cultivation, to cultivate local agricultural varieties, thus improving the biodiversity in the agricultural field. So basically they are making choices to use cultivation methods that are good for the ecosystem, good for the soil, the water, for the biodiversity. And so again, they are helping us, providing the bear a good habitat. So basically, what we did was to promote the active involvement of potential beneficiaries, and this resulted in a participatory approach, which is recognized as being one of the most effective way to implement effective large carnivore conservation strategies. Without the participation, all the initiative, the most beautiful initiative we have are, very low probability to result in something good, because people really need to be part of our projects. And the second part is the fact that by promoting the bear-friendly concepts, not only as a direct bear and human, mitigation conflict tool, but well, just as a tool to promote the ecosystem approach, which is something we should bear in mind every time we develop an environmental conservation strategy, because this is recognized now since more than 30 years, especially by the Convention on Biological Diversity, as the approach to bear in mind to implement all the other conservation strategies, as opposed to the target species, target habitat conservation strategies, which can be, limiting. So what's in the future? Of course, in the future, this label will be granted also to other categories. We are thinking about guides and people with restaurants. And the bear-friendly label established in the frame of the LIFE DNALP was quite an inspiration for us. So I think we are going to inspire a lot, again, from that experience. But our idea is to create a territory, an environment where people can start to see the bear in, the bear-friendly guide, the bear-friendly restaurant, the bear-friendly honey, the plate on the store. So where people can perceive that they are in a bear country, in order also to reduce their need to actually see the bear, to actually touch the bear, because this is not the point. We really would like to create an ecotourism where people can feel they are in a bear country without having the necessity to really actually see the bear and interact and have a selfie with the bear. Just because it came out in the first presentation of Irene, if I'm not wrong, I just wanted to, this can be useful for future discussion, that you can see here that we produce some bear-friendly supports, like plates, like t-shirts and caps, but actually producers are not obliged to put the bear-friendly label in their products, because that would be impossible, because people have their own labels, it's hard to find the space, it would be costly, as Irene said, so they will not be obliged to put the bear-friendly label in the products. We will give them only supports for the store and for themselves, so t-shirts, caps, gilet, whatever, but the most of the work will be done online in a similar way of the token label that Irene talked about. We will create online spaces where people can find all the information and that can be easily shared with social media. We are not going to rely a lot on the label on the product, because this would not work, as Irene confirmed at the beginning of this workshop. It's all for me. I'm done. Of course, thanks to all the people that worked in this project. I'm only their voice, of course. And if there are any questions, I would be more than happy to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Giovanna. It was very interesting also to see how you developed, how difficult it was also for you to develop this type of label. And also it is quite clear in when you see all the effort that has been put in this to achieve this result, that this type of projects like LIFE projects are fundamental to have the infrastructure, also the budget to work on so thoroughly on to achieve these results. So thank you very much. If there are no other questions, we could move on to the next two presentations, which are more
Marta, I think we have two hand raises.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't see them. Sorry.
Manda, hi Manda.
Hi.
Hi, Giovanna. I only have one question. So, of course, this is a long-term process of putting this label into practice. But do you have first like feedback from people that are part of this label?
Yeah, of course, it just started. So it started really, we granted the first labels at the end of December. So we are still adjusting, but the feedback is really, really positive. All the producers that joined the label in the first place, I mean, we also organized a huge event involving the press, the media and everything. They were all extremely happy to participate to this project, because the point is that they are now putting in practice a lot of things they are not obliged to. I mean, no one is obliged to have an organic cultivation or to breed the Apis mellifera ligustica. So they are really happy that there is finally someone that is recognizing all their efforts. So they are really happy to join this, really happy that the bear is their ambassador, because as Clara said, they are aware of the fact that the bear is a flag species and that can really bring a lot, you know, of advertising. So they are happy to participate, and they are happy to have been involved in an active way. I mean, they really felt they were part of this project. I think this is really what made the difference. In our context, it's not easy to involve people in this kind of things. Maybe for you, the number 20 producers is not so high. For us, it was surprising. First of all, because our territory is not very big, so we do not have as many producers. I mean, not very much. So we basically involved all the farmers we have in our territory. So this was something really, really wonderful. So feedback so far are very, very good. This year we will start to work together to actually promote the products and everything. So we will see. Maybe at the end of this year I could answer better to these questions. But we have good expectations.
Thank you.
I think also Spiros had a hand right, but no. Okay, so I didn't see it well.
Okay. Well, very happy. Thank you, Giovanna. Very happy that Spiros is online, is with us. If there are any questions regarding this project, and in particular, if you would like to have some insights on the Greek experience, he could help us also, you know, to have information on other parts of Europe that are dealing with the same products. So if there are no other questions for the moment, we could move on to the next presentation, which is by one of our steward associations, the La Ventura Association, which is based in the Appennino Natural Park in the south part of Piedmont. Hi, Davide. Okay, I see you.
Everyone.
Okay, you can share Davide Pelizza. He should be sharing his screen. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you see my screen?
Yes,
Yes. Okay.
but you should move to presentation mode, please.
Okay. Can I start with the presentation? Thank you. Hello, everyone. We are Davide and Alessio, network guides from the Association L'Avventura in the APAP Park and steward of LIFE WolfAlps EU project. We apologize in advance for our bad English. Let us tell you about our experience of this 2022 full of events and activities. Ventura was founded in 2016 by the idea of three friends who intended to develop a project to enhance the territory, based on the sustainable, responsible, and ethical tourism. We offer guided hiking and mountain bike tours, network conferences, environmental education projects in school, a bike and snow show rental, summer camps for children, and cultural events. We also have a bar restaurant for the administration of products from local companies, with a room used as a naturalistic library and the consultation of maps of the trail in the area. The Association L'Avventura, based in Moretti of Consone, Alessandria, currently has 6 monitoring operators active in the area. The areas of analysis extend from the municipality of Consone to the border with Liguria in the Ovada area. A collaboration with HAPAP sees us engaged in monitoring with camera traps in the collection of biological samples for genetic analysis and in constant comparison for correct and objective information, the issue of man-wolf coexistence. Excuse me, sorry. Here is the territory in which, Here is the territory in which we operate, on the border between Piedmont and Liguria. The circles you see represent the hypothesized territories of the herds that we are monitoring. Okay, now we can briefly share with you the activities we proposed in 2022, based on Action C7 and Action C8 of the project. Under Action C7 of the LIFE WolfAlps EU project, we have proposed and carried out these activities. LIFE WolfAlps stand organization during the Attraverso Festival days, guided day and night hikes in search of wolf tracks with final briefing, organization of informative evening meetings on the wolf and his return in the Ligurian Piedmontese Apennines and in the province of Alessandria, with final discussion about the challenge of coexistence. Organization of events in collaboration with Pastor Amedeo Amic, steward of LIFE WolfAlps project, in order to discuss more in depth the theme of coexistence and promote in a correct way the various system of prevention from wolf attacks. LIFE WolfAlps stand organizations during the Attraverso Festival dates. With people approaching our booth, we proposed these activities: LIFE WolfAlps EU and the project areas, sale or gift of LIFE WolfAlps jerseys and bags, demonstration of the main monitoring techniques, explanation to teachers and families of the Young Ranger project with material delivery to interested. Guided day and night hikes in search of wolf tracks with final briefing. During the walk, we will talk about the biology, ethology, and ecology of the wolf and the important role it plays in the ecosystem. At the end of the excursion, there is the final briefing with video projection of our video traps, where we show and tell the story and the most important dynamics of the wolf packs of the area. This type of event has been a great success. All the events have been sold out and the participants have been very interested, with many questions and fruitful final debate. Evening meetings about the wolf. During these meetings, we tried to raise awareness and train the participants to the tour of this great carnivore in the province of Alessandria, showing the videos of our video traps and explaining the dynamics between the pack of wolves on our territory. We have addressed in depth the dilemma of human-wolf coexistence, trying to discuss it with the participants to analyze the main critical issues of the return. These meetings were held in various municipalities and locations, and aimed at different audiences, both adults and children. Also in this case, we noticed a great participation and interest of the public, but above all from the institutions and the various realities of the territory. In fact, after proposing the first informative evening, we were contacted by many municipalities and associations. Last but not least, wolf and breeding, a possible coexistence. Tracking event in collaboration with the itinerant pastor, steward of the LIFE WolfAlps project, Amedeo Amici, in order to discuss more in depth the theme of human-wolf coexistence and promote in a concrete way the various systems of prevention from wolf attacks. Under Action C8 of the LIFE WolfAlps EU project, we have proposed and carried out these activities. We have divided the Young Ranger project into 3 different macro events. The first is of Young Ranger, L'Avventura Summer Camp, the Young Ranger project in the school. All right, let's move to, excuse me. The Thursdays of Young Ranger, 7 Thursdays from 16 June on to 28 July 2022. Short walk on the trail of the wolf with final briefing, delivery of the envelope and the compilation of the activity book together with the kids. This event is collaboration with ecotourism and Piaggio has brought many young people from large cities, not used to living in contact with nature, to the small realities of our territory. At the end of the day, they were ecstatic, very happy. Sorry for my English. L'Avventura Summer Camp, 2 weeks between 8 August and 19 August 2022. Basic training on 4 main natural dams: the wolf path, the botanical richness of the territory, the fantastic work of bees and pollinators, and the path of the nuts of birds. How to become a young ranger and what order protected areas can be visited. The day was organized in this way: hike or short walk in the morning, outdoor picnic lunch, educational laboratory activities in the afternoon. The Young Ranger project in secondary schools of 1st and 2nd grade. In April 2022, we created a book of educational proposals for schools, where we included the project dedicated to young rangers. The day will take place as follows. Program of the day: 9:30 a.m. meeting and start the walk. The walk will include some stops in which will be provided basic notions on the habits of the wolf and insight of the main aspects of self-regulation of the species. Pack structure, strong territoriality, and high dispersion capacity. During the excursion, there are also some stops in specific points, marking sites, panoramic points, phototrap positioning site, and stops in case of biological samples detection. 12:30 a.m. picnic lunch. Activity shooting at 13:30. with PowerPoint presentation and some of the most important videos obtained from the photo traps used in monitoring to define the characteristics of Canis lupus italicus and analyze the situation of the wolfpack present. At the end, after completing the activity booklet, it will be proposed to the students to discuss at their work together the experience just passed in order to stimulate a debate in which everyone can actively participate. 16 o'clock p.m. End of activities. Learning objectives. To identify and recognize the scene of presence of the passage of the wolf. To know the main monitoring and data collection techniques. To understand the dynamics of its explore in Italy. To know the history of the species in the province of Alessandria from 19th to date. The true meaning of the young ranger's promise. After returning to the mountainous areas of Italy, we are witnessing today a new colonization of the wolf in urban and peri-urban areas. The great interest shown during the events that we have proposed and the numerous reports of sightings help us to understand today, more than ever, the importance of creating culture on the dam of the wolf. Informing citizens and stakeholders, combating fake news is therefore a priority in order to limit misconduct as much as possible, improve the wolf-man relationship. In this sense, training the new generation through the Young Ranger program in the right way to go. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation. This is just one example of the many activities that the stewards of the LIFE WolfAlps EU project are carrying out. And but we wanted to share with you some of the most interesting. If there are not questions, we were thinking of moving to the last presentation before the discussion time, which will be made by our colleague Mansa, also from the LIFE WolfAlps EU project, and not only that project, and also from our colleague from the Triglav National Park. And right after them, we will have the discussion time, and then the last three presentations. I see a message from Spiros. And I will read it to you. If Mansa and Monica are ready, we could share their presentation.
Yes, hi. So I'm Mansa, and Moica is also with us.
Hi, hello.
Thank you. Hi.
So let me start, and then Mansa will proceed. So today we're going to talk about two complementing programs intended for children who like to learn about the nature, who like to explore it. And let me just start with our Triglav National Park, which is the only national park in Slovenia. It covers almost the entire part of Julian Alps in Slovenia. It's typical alpine, with Slovenia's highest mountain Triglav, after which is well named. And I can say that not only the Triglav National Park, but all the protected areas are something most precious that people or nations have. And if I go back to our park, rich fauna and flora, exceptional mountain landscapes, and rich cultural heritage is what makes living in national park or near it a special given. So we Slovenians, we have a really nice saying, and proverb, even if I translate it into English, it's like young people are our future. And we think that genuine contact with protected nature is essential in helping children grow up into adults who will have responsible attitude towards nature and people. For our motto, we choose the initials of the International Code for Emergency, SOS, which is, let's say, cry for help, but in Slovenian, it makes it really nice because it says poznavam, občudujem, spoštujem in kasneje tudi varujem. So let me translate that. So it's, if you know something, then you can admire it, you can respect it, and because of all this, then later on it's yours and you protect it. So we wanted that all the children around the national park will have, will experience the national park once in their years of schooling. So in 2018, we established the community of the schools of the Junior Alps Biosphere Reserve, which connects 38 primary and brand schools. And in these schools, there goes more than 7,000 kids around the national park. And we said that we need to make something special for them. And if I go in the past, we connected a lot of projects, various projects, and we upgraded and connected the activities for kids. And in 2002, I can say that I'm really happy that we were one of 4 partner parks that started a junior ranger program, which was or is the Europark program for children. It has like 3 primary aims, which are to raise awareness about the nature, about the cultural, social, and economic values of the protected areas. Then as well to create a network of youngsters who will participate in, let's say, nature protection. And as well, we would like to promote friendship by engaging them in the achievements of the common goals that I think all the European protected areas have. So we started at 4 parks, but then after years, the network has grown ever since. So I think that for 2023, there is more than 80 protected areas already involved that come from 19 different countries. And this program involves like more than 5,000 youth every year. So we were involved in that, but then before Corona, we had like a bit of crisis because we didn't have the staff to work with kids. So then in 2021, we restarted this program with 40 children from 11 different schools from the area. We made several different events for them and activities. And the kids that were present almost all the time, that never missed these activities, then in 2022 became junior rangers, because before they were just candidates. So now we have 20 children that are already junior rangers. And then this year, so starting from September, this program involves then another 63 children from 14 different schools, and we are making actions for them every 2 months. And then in winter time, we will see how many of them will become junior ranger again and not just the candidates. So every 2 months, we meet and we discuss several different topics. So the first meeting was just the introducing of the program. We went inside one of the alpine valleys. It was winter time. We had so much fun, and we just discussed the basic things about the national parks and how to behave in winter and what the animals do. Then in February, our topic was about the living of the animals in the winter. What the hunters do, how do they take care of them, and because in March of 21, we repopulated the lynx, and the wolves came back in the area. The large carnivores were like a hot topic already then. Yeah, then the next day we sent them some of the, we planted the cameras, so we sent them back how many animals they came to feed themselves on the hay that they left there. Then in March, we were working on a trail on one of the oldest Triglav National Park trails that then we as well visit as a group. We invited as well the ranger from United States that introduces as well their junior ranger program. We had the summer camp that lasted 5 days in the Pljuka, and as well we did a lot of different things up there. In autumn, we visit as well other protected areas. So the kids that they know that as well other national parks have the same problems or the same tasks, and that they know that as well everywhere else is really nice, but we are home at Triglav National Park. And then, yeah, we have this big event at International Mountain Day in December, where all the candidates became then the junior rangers. And then Mansa called me in between all these our actions, and she said that she has a junior ranger program. And my first thought was, okay, what is this? Is this like junior ranger versus young ranger? And then we just said, no, it needs to go hand in hand, and it needs to it needs to be like two complementing programs for the same kids, and we just need to bring more wolf activities into our program. And at this point, I will ask Mansa if she can maybe say something about the Junior Ranger program in Slovenia.
Hvala, Mojca. Yeah, so our first question was, if you can go on with slides, please. If we need to intertwine these two programs, first, what would be the Slovene name for young ranger? Because as you can see, Mladi nadzornik is actually the Slovene name for junior ranger. And what would be the Slovenian version of young ranger? But in a way that we don't confuse visitors, that we don't confuse youngsters about these two programs, which has which activities and to whom they are what do they offer and to whom. So first we thought, okay, maybe we can just stick to this name, Young Ranger, and don't translate it. And in this way, we also emphasize that this program is actually international. So Junior Ranger offers, let's say, a very intensive inclusion, but for a smaller group of children which are present within the park. And Young Ranger is an opportunity to also include other people as visitors, families that live outside of the park. So it's meant for the broader group, and it's of course international. So we found out that actually, wow, these two programs are actually complementing each other, and we find this is a good opportunity for both programs actually. Next, Mojca, thanks. So you have already heard about the booklet. We also have the Slovene version, of course. And this booklet came handy also in Triglav National Park to work as with families, as with school groups. There are also a few wolf-related activities that we put into the program for this year for the Junior Ranger program, but I will let this part to Mojca.
So in January, we had our first meeting for this year. We went as well on the snow, and we really implemented the wolf-related activities into the activities of Junior Ranger. As I said before, large carnivores are like a hot topic right now with us as well. The kids really enjoyed this, getting to know the animals, but not just like this from the stories, but just from the field. So our rangers, they told them how they monitoring them, and then we were discussing how to see that they are presented in the area. Then other thing was as well, we had a study visit from Piłka, so maybe this part Mansa can take it over. Sorry.
Yeah, so since both programs are flowing so nicely in Triglav National Park, actually, but we wanted to present this to members of two associations in Piłka. So these two organizations are also part of the Young Ranger Network in Slovenia. So these are Large Carnivore Center in Dina Piłka and Eco Museum of Seasonal Piłka Lakes. So actually, they were the ones, those who asked for a study visit. And thank you, Mojca, again for organizing this. I think it was really nice for all of us to hear more about the details of working with schools and about Junior Ranger program. As well as for the work in the park centers, you know, because I think this knowledge is really good if we can exchange it in person. Also, like, would you want to talk about this, Mojca? The exchange? Yeah. No? Okay. So this is also the part when so the Piłka employees were in Triglav National Park, and now the Junior Rangers or the candidates for the Rangers will come also to Piłka. So first we will meet the breeder near to Piłka. He's also a breeder of the dogs, not just the small cattle. And then we will also visit Dina Piłka Center and have a workshop there. So this will actually happen this Saturday. So we're sorry we cannot show you nice photos of children there, but maybe sometime later. So yeah, I think we really find a way how to complement these two programs, and I'm really happy about it. I'm looking forward to our next activities. So if Mojca, you would like to add something?
Actually, no. No, it's just
thank you.
At the beginning, it looked like that there are just like two programs that has the same name, and in Slovenian language, this is difficult because it has the same name. But then we found a way. And yeah, it really goes hand by hand. So we are happy that we have like a good practice of this.
Thank you. Thank you. It was very interesting to hear your experience and how you managed to gather the experiences and take the best from both. This will be the first part of our chat. If you'd like to, while you grab a cup of coffee, to ask questions to the speakers who presented so far
if you'd like to go into more details on the issues that they approached, please do. It is the time for to share some points of view, to ask questions, and then we'll move forward to the next presentations that will continue on this line. So we will be more on the junior participation in nature conservation and the knowledge on nature conservation. Are there any questions on these topics? Would you like to ask questions to Giovanna, Francisco, Irena, Clara?
Probably we are in a caffeine needing
down moment.
Yeah, at least me.
Of course, we will have time in the future to think over. It was very interesting for us from the LIFE WolfAlps EU project to hear from the Bear project. There might be some differences and some similarities. Of course, the approach towards the label, the eco label, is something that we will definitely take from. Your experience is very important to us, and with Irene, we will definitely get in touch with you and also to know more about what you did. I have a question for Clara regarding the study on the attitude of the media towards the bear. So, in your experience, did you? I do not remember. Sorry. In your experience, did you also work or approach the same? Use the same approach on wolves, or did you study previous studies on wolves to create your study on the bear?
We can't hear you, Clara.
Non ti sentiamo, Clara.
No. Risulta che non sia mutata.
Sembra acceso. Andrea, provi... ah no, perché sembra acceso.
Sto guardando, è acceso.
È un termine del dizionario.
Un problema.
Però di origine latina.
Aspetta. È utilizzato?
Sì, è stato coniato da Wilson.
No. Provando a riattivarglielo io da remoto.
C'è qualcosa col tuo audio.
Andrea, sono Ivan, credo che sia un problema in loco.
Di Clara.
Forse il tuo audio, Clara.
Palesemente sbagliato.
A noi risulti acceso.
Sono il tecnico, Clara. Se cortesemente, al limite, provi a staccare proprio le cuffiette dal PC. E proviamo a fare senza e cerchiamo di capire. Lei ci sente? Allora, mi sente se mi fa solo un cenno? Ok, allora, una cortesia. Vicino all'icona del microfono c'è una piccola freccia, giusto? Se clicca su quella freccia vicino al microfono in basso a sinistra, non la sento, si apre una scelta. Magari lavoriamo a conferme con un pollice alzato. Allora, innanzitutto chiudiamo i
Meglio?
microfoni.
Prova a parlare.
Mi sentite?
Sì.
Sì.
Ok, grazie. I'm sorry for the inconvenience. I didn't realize I touched that setting. So coming back to the question, Martha's questions. No, I haven't worked on wolf on this topic. This is a new approach that I'm trying to develop with economists. My previous case study was about the alpine bear, but was quite a while ago. So before any attacks started to happen, because I don't know if you are aware, but in Italy we have two bear populations, one in the Apennines and one in the Alps who has been reintroduced. And in the last years, there have been a few attacks on people. And so my previous research was before the first attack. So I would love to do research on other mammals or birds or species, because I think this is an interesting view on how people really perceive the species. I don't know if I answered.
Yes. No. Yes. Also, Giovanna. She has
Yes, I recommend just to have a question for Irene maybe, or whoever worked for the wolf-friendly, let's say, label in the Alps, because one thing that is very important when developing this kind of labels is that they should be unique in a significant area, portion of the territory. So this is happening in the Alps because you are working together for the wolf. Of course, in Slovenia, I had the chance to talk a lot about the bear-friendly label with Slovenian colleagues, and they are a small country, so the bear-friendly label is at national level. While what happens here in the Apennines is that I think this is the biggest problem for Apennine brown bear conservation, is the totally fragmentation of conservation action. So, for example, we developed this bear-friendly label. I think we are the first in Italy, maybe, to develop bear-friendly label. In any case, for sure, the first in the Apennine context, at least a working bear-friendly label. So we did it as Majella National Park, which is just a portion of the bear range. So what we would like to do, of course, is to replicate this experience in other territories, but to make it actually effective also from a marketing point of view, it should be the same logo actually used also in other portion of the Apennine brown bear area. But I'm not sure that this will be the future, because it's really hard in our context to make things work together, to consider the bear range as a unique territory and not the single protected areas inside as unique territories. We do not have a national entity that is caring for this. For example, the region would be a good entity, or the environmental ministry, but this is not happening. So basically everybody does good stuff, but sometimes they're not connected. And it would be also hard to connect the territories, because even though they're very close one to the other, they're very different economic context and everything. So my question is for people who worked on this kind of labels in the Alps, how hard was it to develop a label that takes into consideration all the diversities that you have in the territories, to make it work for different people from different producers, from different regions? How was it done, and how hard it was?
I can try to say something, But as the action is in progress, actually, I don't have many results to show. But I think that also the appreciation of the idea of the token label is due to the fact that it goes beyond all the existing local brands. For instance, each park, not each park, but many parks, natural parks, have their own label. The products of the park, it's a sort of quality label. And the regions in Italy very often have some quality labels, very local, but to regional level. A token label can have virtually, theoretically, no borders. It can go beyond administrative borders, and also we are doing the effort to go beyond the limits of time of the project and the limits of the area of the project. That is to say that the showcase website will have a Google map that, at least theoretically, can host producers and nature guides, for instance, just to stick to two categories, from all over the project area, of course, but beyond. They can also come from other regions that at the moment are not within the project. So the effort is also not to link too strictly a token label to a project. Otherwise, the risk is just to see the whole project crash down after the end of the project. So you have to keep a balance to be strict enough to still have sense, to still make sense. That is why we borrowed the criteria from Life DINALP Bear. But you also have to be a little bit general. That is to say, you have to fit with all different areas. And the token label at the moment proved to be the only chance to do that. So we are trying to be in the same time effective, but general enough to be long-lasting and fit for everyone, at least in the Alps and Apennines, Northern Apennines. Let's see what's happening. I think the first results will arrive by the end of the year. Just say, let's have 6 months of experimentation, and then I think we will have something more interesting to tell.
Lara and Laura, I don't know which one wants to start.
I have a question for Francisco, but
He went out for a
maybe
coffee.
later. Yes.
No, wait, he's back. He's back.
Sorry. No, sorry me.
No, I really found really interesting your point of view in which you actually transform persecution toward the wolf in some kind of attractants that can bring interest and so coexistence. I wonder if you have also developed an indicator of how this tourism actually benefits the coexistence in the frame of the acceptance of the wolf. Like people see then the wolf as a resource for their territories, and coexistence is augmented. Do you have any kind of this data?
Yeah, it's a fact that we use this wolf persecution, but I think somehow for the local communities it can improve coexistence, because we somehow recognize this past history. We don't promote, of course, illegal persecution anymore, but we don't marginalize them, if I'm it's understandable, because sometimes local people are a bit against conservationists because they think that they are assumed to be the ones that are killing wolves, that use wrong practices even for damage prevention, because we go there and give them dogs. So recognizing their traditional knowledge, even to kill wolves, because actually to kill wolves and to build all those monumental traps, you have to know a lot about the wolf special ecology, where they move, to be efficient, to capture the animals, of course, and recognizing that. And it's amazing because most of these wolf traps are located exactly in the places that now with colored wolves we see that are the main path of the wolves, some decades and centuries after being built, all those traps. So it's a huge traditional knowledge that is very good to be recognized. And that I think helps a lot, because first we have to contact local people to ask them about this ethnographic heritage. And so you have to sit with them, drink a lot of wine, have dinner with in their houses. And that already makes a very good connection with us, being researchers in the Caribbean, not from the village, from big cities. And that I think they recognize a lot. On that way, and also for the wolf traps, also for the kids, the school, and here where you were talking about amazing examples, several, of involving children. And with the wolf traps is also nice, because somehow they have to go to ask to their grandfathers how they were used, how was the details. So it's also interaction among different age classes within the community. And we did a very nice work with the kids and involving these wolf traps, and that was successful because even the kids didn't know. They were even amazed because maybe his great-grandfather was the one that noticed the last wolves that were caught in one of those traps, and they asked in the family. So I think all these connections that go more deep on the beliefs and the practices of these local communities can improve coexistence. And I'm aware that maybe in Iberia we are privileged because we have all this culture and heritage very alive. People are still remembering. There are people in the communities that still remember prayers or beliefs. Maybe in other parts of Europe that was vanished, but I think looking hard in this small village, you always find nice, interesting stories with this ethnographic value and can be used for educational and touristic things. One of these touristic things sometimes, sorry, just remember, is also going to talk with the community about these wolf traps and take tourists also to notice that, and to drink and eat in their table, which is very nice.
Thank you very much. That's really.
I see still Clara and then Romana. Clara, non ti sentiamo di nuovo.
What about now?
Sì.
It changes at its will, I'm sorry. Okay, I wanted to thank you, Francisco Alvarez, for his presentation, who was really very unusual one. And my comments are similar to the one of Laura. And I also appreciated this connection with the old tradition and the young, and thank you for explaining this grandfather, grandchildren thing, that it's amazing. And this is really important to value traditional ecological knowledge. So you have already answered. I have just one curiosity left. If have you met any nostalgic of the old times when you were allowed to trap a wolf, or people are embarrassed to confess that you would like to kill them? Because here in Italy we have I live in the Alps, and there are people who said, oh, we made such an effort to get rid of all the bears, and then they are coming back, and they are not ashamed to share this point of view. So I was curious about Spain. Thank you.
Thanks, interesting question. But in Portugal, the wolves were never extirpated, so they always persisted. So even with all this effort, they never managed to kill them. That maybe it's a different context that sometimes. But yeah, they are some. I don't think they are not nostalgic, because they recognize that to kill wolves like that with those traps was a huge effort, and no one now wants to do this effort, because they would do these hunting drives many times with a lot of effort and no results, without capturing any wolf. But somehow using again these wolf traps and these more dark past that I don't think is dark, because in the ethnographic point of view is very interesting, and people should know that wolves were killed. That's why they were extinct, and we were able to extinct them from most Europe or worldwide range. But it's also another argument with damage prevention measures, because I assume that also for you that work in other countries, sometimes it's difficult to convince them to use livestock guarding dogs or go to have a shelter with the calves when they are nearborn in the mountain, to keep with them, to stay with them and to protect them, because people now are much more, they don't want to make that effort, even for extensive grazing of goats that are needed for goats, and to have big goat herds. People don't want to get also that effort. And sometimes we say, yeah, it's the same effort that you did at the time to kill wolves. So even for not killing, and so somehow I think gives a bit more strength to say, no, you have to have some effort now to protect the livestock. I don't know also if I've been clear, but somehow using these past practices that for us conservationists are not so valuable or so important, it's very important to connect with the local communities, and for them to have a better link, even then to promote efficient conservation measures. But once again, it's a very touristic, has a huge touristic value, all this heritage, and even the oral tradition with small videos. We now made a small video for an interpretation center with testimonies of old people from the village. We call it traditional knowledge, because even to kill the wolves, like I said, but even to protect the livestock, they knew very well how wolves were attacking, now they should protect them. All this knowledge is lost, and now we assume that people are professional but have another interests and don't use it so well, but the knowledge was there. So recovering all of that, this cultural dimension, I call it, it's important, even for them to recognize that actually their ancestors knew how to do it.
Thank you. That's really an inspiration. Thank you so much.
But not easy, eh? Coexistence is not easy with wolves.
Please, Romana Urinova.
Yes, hi. Can you hear me? Okay, perfect. I would like to ask, maybe I overlooked this during the presentation, but my question is about the bear-friendly label, and who is responsible for awarding this label to products or areas, or I mean, who is checking whether the condition of obtaining this label are met, and maybe if the ambassadors or people who have this label get any advantage out of this, because I was thinking about something similar in Slovakia, but we stopped thinking about that, because we tried to prepare some system where the state will be responsible for this label for farmers or people or some tourist association who will learn to live with large carnivores, and after they will there will be some conditions, and if they will good with that, they will have this bear or wolf friendly label. But from after that, they should have some advantages. For example, some smaller funds for help or something like that. So this is the point. If something like that was in your country, or it's in the beginning. If something isn't clear from my question, please ask.
Okay, do you hear me? Maybe I can try to answer. So in Slovenia, the owner of the bear-friendly label at the moment is University of Ljubljana. We are now in the process of co-sharing, like shared management together with the visitor center Dina Pivka. And the criteria is we formed in the beginning of this process, we formed a committee. So we have several experts in this committee, and they check each application, and they check if these criteria that were developed for each of the categories that I presented, if this criteria is satisfied. And for the monitoring of the criteria, this was, of course, much easier when we still had the project, because then we were a lot on a field. And for example, the leading beneficiary was Slovenia Forest Service. They are working a lot with farmers. And so this, for example, criteria, if the electric fences are set up, if everything is on place, were done on a more regular basis. And now, after the project, this is actually something new that we will still have to implement, and it's in progress. We decided to have some kind of reports after 3 years, where each of the ambassadors will have to prove somehow with photographs, or it's really hard because it all comes to money and funding. You know how. If you don't have this system, if your funding is based on projects, yeah, then it's harder to also to implement this monitoring. But we will do it on like this, with reports and with photographs. And yeah, Slovenia is small, so also we believe. When we started the project, it was more about what you have to do, but then we started working with people that want to do this. And this is the difference, because we believe that they want to do this, and they and you know, the community, the bear-friendly community itself, I think it's not that possible that somebody would lie and, you know, not use this these practices and just use the label. So the advantages for the ambassadors are also, of course, it may be more advantages during the project, because we had all these events. We used, for example, if we had big international conference, then the catering was made with the bear-friendly products. A lot of promotion on during project events, but also we had a website where they were promoted. But we also continue to do this. And when I spoke to the ambassadors, they gave me also some feedback, and they said that there's no monetary. It's hard to say if their product, if consumers would be ready to pay more for these products, because we really have to do more also on the recognition of this label in Slovenia. But what they say is that they, because of the label, they get more attention from potential customers. So, for example, if they are somewhere on a fair, people are interested. What is this? Why do you have a bear on this honey? What's the story behind this bear? And then the communication starts, and you know, and this this is an added value also for the products. I'm not sure if I answered, but
yeah, yes, it was very, very helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sorry, just to add a small comment also on the bird-friendly in the Apennines. Basically, it's the same also for us. So the label is owned by the Majella National Park. So it's the Majella National Park that grants the label and the checks. But as Irena said, actually, the checking part is not really tough because there is no actual interest in lying for these producers. So basically, they accept the fact that in any time the Majella National Park can check if they have all the criteria. And so we can do that anytime we want, and they cannot say anything. But about the advantages, beyond all that Irene already said about the promotion, the fact that we, of course, push the promotion of these kind of products in our social media work, in our website and everything. One advantage that they found very important was the fact that you can create a network between producers because it seems incredible, but producers that are in territory not always are talking the one to the other. And so the park is like the entity that makes them talk. And they find that they have common interests and then they can collaborate. For example, farmers really ask to beekeepers to put the beehives in their fields because, of course, they need pollination. So they are happy of the fact that you can create a network in the territory of people that is working toward the environmental conservation, and actually they can work together. We, are just the director of this thing. I think this is also a very important advantage they could have, which is not immediate to catch, but is a very important part for them and for their production in the territory.
Yeah, that is true. This is really, really good and important. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. I think that we can move on to the next two presentations plus the last video from our colleagues from the US. So I welcome, sorry, I don't want to mispronounce the name. I welcome Jessica Miklem-Konelic from Europark, the youth officer. Please let us know more about your programs for youngsters.
Okay, 1 second. Let me just share my screen. Can you see the presentation? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. Great. So hi, everyone. My name is Jessica Miklem-Konelic. I'm from the Europark Federation. We are a network of protected areas across Europe. And yeah, we are 50 years old this year, so celebrating our 50th anniversary. We have over 400 members in around 40 countries. These members are also sometimes networks of protected areas. So within us, there are over thousands of protected areas, which are national parks, nature and regional parks, marine protected areas, peri-urban parks, and Natura 2000 sites. We also work at a very members-based level, so we have different groups called sections. Italy is a section all by its own, and we also have a Spanish section, a Francophone section, Atlantic Isles, the Nordic Baltic section, and Central and Eastern Europe and Germany. So we also like to really work at a regional level as well to make sure that people can speak in their own languages, share similar experiences, etc. So what we do as the Europark Federation, I am part of the directorate, which is a very small team that is just here to facilitate knowledge sharing between our members. We do this through workshops, through conferences, and through some of the programs and annual events that we have. Some of our big programs you might have already heard of, and those are the transboundary parks, so Triglav and Prealpi Giulia are one of those parks. And also we have the European Charter for Sustainable Tourism, which is exactly what you were just speaking about, which is integrating young sort of local producers who work close to the park into the work of the park, and really bringing those producers together and finding out a way to be sustainable all together when it comes to nature conservation and people, because that is really one of the core values. We as people are part of nature and everything is interlinked. And when we talk about our protected areas, it really is about our cultural and environmental heritage. And that's also why it's so important that we involve young people at a very early age. So I'm going to be talking about our youth programs. This work is also part of our strategy for 2030. Something that we really are looking for is to engage young people also in the decision-making of the parks. So the training and empowering young people to be experienced ambassadors, and also giving them opportunities to have their voices heard at a local level, at a regional level, and at a European level in the Council of Europe and in the EU. So looking at the different kinds of youth work, you've already heard a little bit about junior rangers from Moika. Thank you very much. We also have once a year an international junior ranger camp. We have a Youth Plus program, which is for young adults above the age of 18 or 16 to 18. We have a Europark Youth Manifesto, which is all about what young people, especially those living in rural communities, want for sustainable development in their communities. We have a Europark youth representative sitting on our board, and in the future, I'm working on a Europark Youth Council. And so if you have young people who are interested, do let them know about this. So just to give you a brief introduction to junior rangers, I won't go into as much detail as you heard from Triglav. We currently have 44 programs running since 2000. Well, the earliest was in 2002, and since then we have 44 that are running. That's in 19 countries, and these are young people between the ages of 12 and 18. And that's also something a little bit different in different countries, depending on their work with young people. I know in Germany, they like to work at a younger age. And also I found it very interesting with the Young Rangers booklets that it was also aged a little bit younger. So there's a lot of overlap, and we really like these programs to be adapted to the local context. And so we are very flexible with our guidelines, and we are always welcome to hear about how parks are implementing this in their own local contexts. So yeah, the one Irene did say at the beginning, the one difference about this program is that it really is about involving the local youth, really giving them a sense of ownership in their local protected area, tying them to this cultural and environmental heritage. So the sorts of activities that junior rangers usually do, it encompasses tourist management activities, sometimes doing surveys with visitors, learning both in a classroom setting, like in a nature interpretation place, or learning outside while doing activities. They also do camping. Some of them do a summer camp where once a year the young people get to stay in the protected area. They also work on learning about cultural heritage, exactly like the wolf traps that was spoken about. And then most importantly is that young people should always be having fun. So taking them outside in nature, letting them be active, hiking, cycling, whatever you have to offer, it's always a core activity in the Junior Ranger program. Then you saw the trail building as an example of doing maintenance. Young people also want to be helpful. They want to see the fruits of their labors, and that's always a really nice example. And lastly, and obviously, nature conservation activities. This is everything from picking up litter to clearing out invasive species to monitoring the health of rivers, identifying plants and animals, etc. So everything that young people who are interested in nature would love to learn about in a fun and engaging way. So once a year, one of our protected areas hosts the International Junior Ranger Camp. This is a very selective process. It's quite small. One protected area, usually per country, is accepted, and they send 2 junior rangers and 1 mentor to this camp. And there they really have a chance to meet junior rangers from all the programs across Europe. The mentors also have a chance to meet themselves and chat about the differences and the benefits, what sort of activities they like to do, you know, what they found to be good, what they found to be challenges, and how to overcome them. So it's really a great place to come and share knowledge and interact and learn from one another. We're running one this year. It will be held in Denmark, in Friedrichshafen, and we're really excited because there's been a bit of a break over the pandemic. We weren't able to bring young people together, but now we're happy to have a fresh start. And we hope, similar to LIFE EU, WolfAlps EU, that this year will be the good one after the pandemic. So I also mentioned we have this Youth Plus program for older young people. So this is usually from 16 to 18, they start with the program. And it's really about upskilling and empowering young people to take initiative and really be the change they want to see. And it's about introducing them not just to having fun in nature and connecting them with nature like the Junior Ranger program, but taking the next steps. How are they communicating what they do? How can they really be ambassadors in their local communities, in their schools, in their universities? How can they advocate for nature wherever they go? It doesn't matter if they're going to become a dentist or become a lawyer, but how does that connection to that park change the way that they want society to be, and they can see they're influencing how their careers can be more sustainable. And also, obviously, there is taking a lead for nature and being taught leadership skills. Often they end up doing some mentorship with the junior rangers, because often they started as junior rangers and then later as Youth Plus, they become mentors of junior rangers as well. And another thing I wanted to share with you, this is available for all protected areas. Even if you don't have a Junior Ranger or a Youth Plus program, you can have a look at the Europark Youth Manifesto. This has been an amazing tool that has allowed protected areas to interact with their local municipalities and really speak to them about young people, what young people want to be living, learning and working in these rural areas close by or in protected areas. It has also resulted in youth committees, in youth advisory boards, and in youth board representatives. We have some great news from one of the regions in Italy, where they have now made it a law that any regional parks need to have a young person represented on their board. So that's really great for young people being empowered to speak their mind and to build the future that they want when it comes to nature conservation. As I mentioned, we also have a youth representative on our board. Maybe some of you have heard of him because he comes from Italy, from the Parco Naturale Prealpi Giulia. And he attends all the Europark Council meetings. He speaks up for the youth. It's a 3-year position, so he really has time to learn in this position and to grow and to share. And he also works very closely with me. I am the youth officer, and we are constantly talking about what we can do for young people and how we can improve things for young people across all the programs in Europark, not just the youth programs. And as I said, very exciting thing this year, we hope to have a Europark Youth Council, which will be able to support our youth representatives. We've seen with the Europark Youth Manifesto that young people really want to get engaged. They have great ideas for the future. They want to help and they want to see the fruits of their labor. So this is really a great way for young people to get involved, to be given responsibility and trusted, and then also to grow and shine with that responsibility. My presentation will be available. I did try and keep it short because I know we're out of time, and I know there's lots of text on my slides, and that's mostly, if you're interested, you can go and read my presentation afterwards. I'm happy to answer any questions, and thank you so much for the invitation. It was really lovely to hear everything you're all doing, and the different aspects, the environmental, the research, the cultural aspects, and how that is really helping with integrated, interlinked nature conservation across Europe. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica.
Forgot about the last slide. Thanks.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you also, Agnese, for the nice drawings that you share with us. It's very interesting to hear also the European experiences on this topic. And if it is okay with you all, if there are not questions right now, we could move to the next presentation and then to the American video, and then the final discussion on the youth programs to wrap up the whole networking workshop. So I then welcome Maud Gari. Is that correct? How I pronounce your name?
Yes.
Hi, Maud.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us. We found your project looking for European initiatives for young generations, and we were very interested in knowing what you are doing. So thank you for sharing your experience with us.
Yes, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very happy to be there because we are at LWA, my organization, which is based in France. We are very used to projects funded by Erasmus and also Creative Europe, because our background is more culture and cultural tourism. So it's interesting to hear all of you and the specificities and also the project that you are leading. So yes, I have a project that I will talk about ecotourism for young entrepreneurs, even though it can also be young people who just want to implement their project. Just to tell you, I am based in Bordeaux. So here there is half of map of France behind me. Bordeaux is very multicultural and very touristical place too. And since 3 years, the mayor of Bordeaux is ecological from ecological parties. So now in Bordeaux and in New Aquitaine in general, everything what's related to environment regarding tourism is really a trendy topic. And so it's nice because it was not the thing before. It is much more about wine and the big castles and tourists that have a lot of money and go to some places. So I think
Sorry,
yeah.
Maud, do you have a presentation you would like to share?
Yeah, I'm going to share my presentation.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it was just the introduction, but
okay, no problem. Go on.
So you can see the presentation?
Yes, now we do.
So the project that I will talk about is called European YETI, Youth Ecotourism Initiative for Young People, co-founded by Erasmus Program for Youth. And so just to tell you who we are at LWA, and so I'm General Secretary of LWA. We are a team of 10 people, and we are really dedicated in projects in social innovation with European funds and also with the European network. So these are the topics. We all come from the touristical or cultural sector, and we address issues like entrepreneurship for young people, for marginalized population, for women also, and some of our projects are dealing about sustainability and also human-centered urbanism. So all these topics that are very ongoing right now in, as I said, in Bordeaux and in New Aquitaine and in France in general. And here it's a picture of us in Ireland, because it was another project about design thinking that so you can see me on the picture. So we exist since 10 years now, and here is a bit our network. So we mainly work with a French association or organization or local authorities who want to widen their network. And now we work with more than 200 organizations in 30 countries, and not only Europe. We have, for instance, a project right now in the cultural industry with China. So we try also to look above Europe, what's going on. And so, as I said, we have several projects on tourism, ecotourism, cultural tourism, also to give the voice to the people that are more unheard and to give another story of the tourism. So this particular project, European Yeti, as we are very active on the education, we would like to give skills to the young people who wants to implement their project. Tourism is something very well known, environment also, but ecotourism still is something new. And we strongly believe that young people are the next generation and that they can be the link, the missing link for now, to develop some very innovative projects in this field. And I think I'm going also to pick all the ideas that I heard this morning to put also in our resources sheet, because it's always good to see what's happening also in the other countries. So I have a small video. I will try to launch it because I'm not sure the sound will work, but it's very small video to show the project. So please, Marta, tell me if it works. Do you hear the sound?
No, I think that you have to share. You have to share the screen in this situation, not just the presentation.
Yes. Wait. Okay, I have it.
Also, remember to share, if we need to hear your audio,
yes,
to share also the audio of your computer. It is, Andrea, where?
When you choose the sharing in the...
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, here. Do you have the music here?
No, sorry. Please try to stop the sharing. And
yes,
when you share again,
yes,
check the box sound.
Okay, perfect.
To the
I've got
okay.
it. Yeah.
Thank you. Perfect.
Yes.
So that's the small video. At the beginning is a bit dramatic music, but then it's more cheerful music. So the partners around this project are very different, actually. BI Innovator from Ireland is more dedicated on food innovation, and they
They support young entrepreneurs in rural areas to create their own company with food. Defimed is French, it's based in Marseille, and they are specialized on ecotourism around Mediterranean area. So they have a map of good initiatives and good practices of companies and organizations who are organize touristical actions with the environmental topic or low carbon footprint. IDEI is in Romania, there are researchers. Nordic Diaspora Forum is in Sweden, they are related, it's also researchers related to a university. And VisMedNet, they are based in Malta. Malta is a small, very small island, very beautiful, but with a disaster touristical sector. So there are a lot of buildings, a lot of tourism, and they have really big problems regarding the environmental issue. And this particular organization, VisMedNet, is trying to teach the young people how to maybe have a different future of the tourism, even though it's really quite strong negative in Malta. I don't know if some of you know this country, but it's interesting to have a Maltese partner. So in this framework, altogether, we decided to create some tools, and I will show you on our website, which is our platform, just after that, to show you where you can find the tools. So first of all, we decided to create a network. So each one of us in our own countries, we are in relationship also with organizations specialized in tourism and environment topics. Thanks to Defimed, based in Marseille, we also worked on the mapping of ecotourism. I will show you that just afterwards, so you can just click on a country around Mediterranean area to see what's happening there. The toolbox is also to help young people to just launch their project. So it's on economic tools and also soft skills, how to pitch, how to go and find some money, how to be different from the others. Training programs, so this is very Erasmus adapted training. That means we do some experimentation. We invited several young people to go to Ireland next week. We will be 30 to go in Romania, so that they can exchange themselves and they can talk about their projects and also learn from our modules. We are organizing several public events, and last but not least, we organized the Yeti Prize, and we had 50 applications from all over Europe, from people under 35 who presented their project with these two topics, environment and tourism. And I will show you the three young people who won the prize. So the toolbox, good practice guides, and Yeti Prize, I'm going to show you on the site website. So here in our part resources, we have this good practice guide. So here we gathered a lot of initiatives around Europe with very strong ideas on this major topic. So the guide is a PDF that can be downloaded in many languages. And in this PDF, there are, dozens and dozens of, I put this in French, sorry, it was a reflex that I have. So here, there are 87 pages because there are a lot of things. So we made 6 months research to find some really inspiring examples. Then there are also some interviews and videos, portraits of young people. Oh, there's an R missing here. Northern Sweden kayak, escapade in Northern Sweden, Evasion VTT. So yeah, I'm not going to show you the videos, but there are really a lot of things, and the interactive map. So for now, we go on the website of our French partner, Defimed, and here we can look on many initiatives where we can click and find some places. So as I don't have much time, I'm going very quickly on that. And also, so the toolbox is really dedicated for young entrepreneurs. So if you are Swedish or Romanian or French, or we don't have Italian, we have Maltese. For instance, your name is Jesmond and you come from Malta, but it can be from any country. You click on this and then you read a lot of information, how you can run your project. So it's designed with a pedagogical and bit playful aspect. So they can read it and they have information, and this information we also use during our trainings. And so to finish, the prize that we organized, 3 people were winners. So I just will give you the profile of the winners. So we had one young girl in Ireland who created a farm about seaweed. I'm not very specialist of seaweed, but it's very innovative, and it's also very ecological. So she created here her website, and she sells seaweed, and she explains all her topic, and there are some videos also about her and why she launched this project with and about seaweed. Second of it was a French guy, where is his name? Florian Vallée. He created a platform for people who are handicapped, so that they can do tourism as people who has not handicapped, and he did a mapping also. He's doing a mapping, so it's a very new project, and he's very young. So here you can see for people who would like to go and do some tourism with the environmental aspect and who are handicapped, they can have this opportunity to go on the Active Andy. And the last one is a young girl. Her website is not created yet. She's Pauline David, and for her, the project is to, it's called Culturail. It's to take the opportunity of doing a journey with a train, but with a train who has large windows, and that you can enjoy the journey through countries like France, Italy, and so on. And so that you can have a map. Her purpose is to create a website, also to do some mapping, and also to promote the tourism through train. So my presentation is almost over. I just had the last page to show you. So I think you understand the objectives is really to enhance ecotourism for young people. And it's an Erasmus project use. The budget was 225,000 euro, 2 years. And here are my contacts. So I'm really happy to, if you want to reach out or to have contacts with people in France, in Bordeaux, I will be glad.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is very interesting, as it covers also another part of the young generations we want to address. So not only children, also older students, and it's very, very interesting. Thank you so much. If there are not questions right now, I would ask Andrea to launch the very short video that the American colleagues from the Great Smoky Mountains National Park sent us. And of course, because of the time difference, it was quite impossible for them to be online with us right now, even though they are on the East Coast. But they were very kind to send us this presentation video, and they are more than open to any question if you ask them. We will share, of course, all the contact information from all the speakers. So Andrea, whenever you're ready,
my name is Brad Free,
puoi
and I'm a
mandare
park
il
ranger with Great
video
Smoky Mountains
dell'americano.
National.
And his name is Brad Free, a ranger of the
Bit of
Great Smoky
background.
Mountains National Park.
The Gene Ranger program actually started with the National Park Service back in the 1980s, early 1980s. Here in the Smokies, it came to be in about 1988 or 1989. And the purpose for this program to start was for to get kids to be more
Andrea?
involved in a national park or national historic site.
Abbiamo perso?
They
No, si sta facendo
Ah,
vedere.
ok, si sta caricando. Scusami,
No, no, no,
and
sta già
they get
andando.
some one-on-one
Io non vedo.
experience with a park ranger.
Vedo
And it has worked amazingly
vediamo lo
since
schermo
then, and our
di
program here in
Daniele.
the Smokies has grown so much over time. At this time, there's over 420.
Laura, scusa, si vede?
Non si vede, non si sente niente.
Si sta per condividere qualcosa. Dice you are sharing screen.
Ok, vediamo perché non si vede e non si sente niente.
National Park Service sites
Can you hear the
across
sound or
United
the video?
States.
Puoi sentire il video?
And of those, there's about
No, we don't.
No, nulla.
We can't hear anything. We are
Ok,
thinking that,
let's stop the sharing of Agnese and try again. Ok. Share the screen. And open the video. And try again. Okay. Now, Laura, please. Let's check.
Now we see him.
Okay. And the sound?
Scusate un secondo. Andrea,
Sorry.
scusa un attimo. Scusa un secondo, perché ho paura che quando parte il video, la condivisione, io non credo di poter disegnare in contemporanea con lo schermo condiviso, perché quando ha parlato Modgari non
Sì.
me lo faceva fare.
Allora, con il
Quindi
video non ti
ditemi voi.
funziona. Sì,
No, mi sa
rimani
che
allora
non
per
funziona.
piacere. Spenta un attimo finché ascoltiamo il collega americano.
Ok, scusate.
Figurati. Ditemi se si sente quando parte l'audio, per piacere.
free, and I'm
Sì,
a
si
park
sente.
ranger with Great
Ok,
Smoky Mountains
perfetto.
National
Alza un
Park.
pochino.
And
Di
I'd
più non
like
si
to
può,
share with
spiace.
you
È il massimo.
about our junior ranger program here in the Smokies. A little bit of background. The junior ranger program actually started with the National Park Service back in the 1980s, early 1980s. Here in the Smokies, it came to be in about 1988 or 1989. And the purpose for this program to start was for to get kids to be more involved in a national park or national historic site. They can do an actual workbook, and then they can get some one-on-one experience with a park ranger. And it has worked amazingly since then. And our program here in the Smokies has grown so much over time. At this time, there's over 420 National Park Service sites across the United States. And of those, there's about 395 or 96 that actually have a junior ranger program. And they all basically have the same layout of how they do things. Here in the Smokies, we actually work for age groups between 5 and 14. There are 4 different workbooks that we do have, and this is one of them that we have. In these books are different types of puzzles and games that they have. They can visit different places in the park, and they're only required to do like 8 activities in these books, and then they can bring it to a visitor contact station, a visitor center, or a ranger station. And on the back of these books, there's actually like an oath of office that they will do with the park ranger to receive their junior ranger badge, which is something that all national parks have. Some of them are wood and some of them are plastic. Our book here in the Smokies does cost. Most parks have a free book, but ours is actually published by our bookstore. So we do charge a very minimum fee for these books, but a lot of parks do charge them for free. And then there's also a lot of different things that you can actually buy, like junior ranger patches and other things that can make it more of a memorable experience. We really enjoy the program for sure, because once again, they only have to do like 8 activities in this, but then they go to a ranger program or do some type of a scavenger hunt to learn more about the park, and then that's when they bring the book back to us. And then we have a one-on-one with a junior ranger, which really makes it special, and they get to know us, we get to know them, and they learn a lot more about the natural and the cultural resources of the Smokies, which is pretty neat. Another cool thing about this is that it is not just tied down to those age groups. You can actually do kids that are under 5 years old, so their brothers or sisters are doing something and they want to do it as well. I mean, we've done 3-4-year-olds can do these books as well. And then we have folks up in their 70s that do these books, kind of a senior ranger program for them, and they'll still do these books. It's just something fun that they do. And there are some websites out there where kids collect the badges and patches and brag about that as well. But it's a very cool program. It's a very enjoyable program. We really enjoy taking part of learning our visitors this way, and maybe even influencing some of these junior rangers to be park rangers one day. But it's just a very special, very cool program. And I truly hope this helped a little bit to know a bit about our program here in the Smokies, which is very similar to other parks around. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me or my supervisor Dexter, and we will get the answers for you as soon as we can. It has truly been an honor to share our Junior Ranger program with you, and I truly hope you have a wonderful day, and look forward to you come visit the Smokies sometimes. Thank you. Have a good day.
Very nice presentation. They have a very long experience in junior in this kind of programs. So it was very nice to have him today with us, even if just virtually. So are there any questions regarding this second part of the workshop, or also on the first part if something came up? Curiosities, we will of course share all the presenters of the speeches, the contact information, so you'll have the chance also to contact them in the future, of course. If there are no questions right now, Agnese, the illustrator, she says she would like to speak. Agnese, please go forward.
Hi, I just wanted to first thank you, you guys from the Parco delle Alpi Marittime for involving me. And it was kind of a new experience for me to join live, and I was a little bit nervous, but anyway, for me, it went fine, and I just hope that you and all the other speakers enjoyed what I made of during your interventions. It was also very interesting since I'm a nature lover. And even if I don't work directly with this kind of environment, I'll always like to give my contribution, even with my drawings that are often related to nature, mountains, animals, and just that. So thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you, Agnese. Thank you. We will, of course, cannot wait to see the finished sketches, and of course we will cherish them and use them and share them as much as we can, because they really represent part of our work. And so thank you very much for your help in this.
Thanks.
So some last considerations. I know you might be very tired and looking for tons of coffee and food now. So now we are all probably ready for some food, not only for our thoughts, but we hope we gave enough things to think about and to reflect and perhaps go through together in the future. Definitely for the label, for the youth activities, we will contact you again. I don't know if Irene and Laura would like to say a few words to finish this workshop.
I think you just told everything, Marta. Just thank everybody for participating, and we will ask to all the authors also to provide us the link of some useful resources, so that the book of abstract will be as more plenty of information for the users as possible. So maybe if you have a link to recommended bibliography or your project, of course, it would be very great if we can put that on our book of abstract.
Absolutely. Okay, then. So I would close this very intense workshop, networking workshop. We finished in time. Thank you also to all the speakers for staying in your 10-15 minutes time. Thank you very, very much. And